What's going on, YouTube? Time for another recap. Let's get into it. It's an interesting day for a wash day, okay? So we had a lot of targets up and down today, so we didn't really do any heavy trading. When the algo system doesn't line up, we just take a break, man. We sit on the sidelines. We don't incur extra risk. We don't add it to the repertoire. We don't want extra risk on our plate, right? So what we got going on here is we had a bunch of targets down and up, okay? So the first one that I called was up to the 100 EMA, and we were going to roll back down and find these short targets for the team here. We jumped on stream on my private Discord, showed everybody the short, and a bunch of levels that we had posted as well. I kept a lot of these private today. Doing a lot more testing on my algo system. So this is actually working out really well. We had a bunch of algo shorts filled 560.09. Okay. And that was all of our short targets for SPY. And then I reiterated right after. I said, oh, I lied. These were not filled. I found an algo displacement way at 557.90. 90, so 20 some points to the downside on ES, which we always trade here, back down to 557.90, even when the market was way back up, barely at 560 and some change. So we did call a really big move there to the downside, and we all just reiterated and said, well, it's here right there. So let's go and get into some of the trading. So we did have some big greens today, and I'll talk about the trades on the anchors that we had taken on QQQ. But first and foremost, I just want to go back down to some of these targets that we had seen here. Click in on SPY. So we had this algo target here, 557, about 88 or so. And this was the last algo target I had for the day. And we were looking for a long, obviously, as the post said, after all the algo short targets are hit, when the MACD swaps back over. Well, we're not going to get that anytime soon. We're on a 5-minute right here. We're just starting to see that MACD kind of come over that moving average line, but I don't know if it's done yet. We might even get 557, another 6 points down, and rip back down into here, because we are coming into our Thursday's low candle. So if you guys have been following the last 3 videos here, we had a prediction on the Thursday candle right here. Let me get into a cleaner chart. So Thursday had this engulfing candle, right? And this engulfing candle's body had just this massive engulfing for 3 days now. So we've just been chopping the high-low range of this fib in the golden pocket a whole bunch. So we've been just scalping day in, day out by hitting the golden pockets, which is the halfway point through between the fib box. So when you draw the Fibonacci from 562.57 to 556.19, that comes to our high-low of the fib. When we hit the golden pocket first time, which was Friday last week, came into this push, held and pushed up, and then we created a higher high into Monday, held, pushed up, then started the break lower low. So you obviously look low into today. So a pop to short was my narrative, and if we got to fill up the body, we are going to 556.19 because we were not over the golden pocket. So the rule is on the engulfing candle right here, comes into the golden pocket and holds the golden pocket, creating higher lows and higher highs. You break out of 562.57 and you continue to the 161 extension, because you are now over the top of the body, right? So you're over 562.57, which we just put, so we can go up to that extension. If the opposite happens and you crack under 562.57, you have to fill this data left open right here on the Fibonacci, okay? So you notice this channel right here, no price action, right? Nothing. So we had a couple days of push, and we had the lower high, lower low yesterday. So we're going to look into short, pop to short today to continue that structure break. Now, our target for the short is going to be 566.119. And again, these dip buys will eventually be bought back up for all-time highs, but we're not quite there yet to go back to those pockets of the gap, right? So what we're looking at right here, we'll go back to the daily chart real fast here. And I do want to make a point of the 10 SMA, because we're probably going to get a bounce here. So to have the short continue down and go back test the 50 SMA and 100 EMAs respectively that we need to do before we go to all-time highs, unless this thing just breaks out of a crazy, just out of nowhere FOMO Momo move, we have to do moving average magnets. And what that means is, because we have a 10 SMA, a 50 SMA, and a 100 EMA, okay? 10 is in the blue, 50 is in the red, green's the 100 EMA. We have a gap right here on SPY, which it pushed over the 50, never came back, pushed over the 10, never came back, gap right here, and then had a decent push over the 100, did find a tiny bit of support, but we don't count that in the engulfing candle. We didn't run away from the 100 and then come back down and test that 100. So what does that mean? Well, the magnets that broke up and over the 10, price action runs away in the daily, consolidates, hits the 10 SMA. Two things happen with that magnet because we pushed above and never came back for a confirmation. A confirmation would be a break over the 10 SMA, finding support on the 10 SMA, creating a higher low, and then continuing to the long side. That is confirmation. That is what you look for the trade there. Now here, it's the same jam. The confirmations are no tag into first tag. So the confirmation here is the first time around the 10 SMA, we should bounce. Okay, so this might be a little bit confusing for the people that don't understand the magnets, but the first time we come into that 10 SMA, so if we go to that 5-minute chart, the 10 SMA is right here. Notice this is the area that we're starting to kind of hold and consolidate right here. This is the 10 SMA daily. Okay, and we got some big runaway targets here where we need to backtest. Multiple issues actually. So when this daily chart breaks under the 10, two things are going to happen. We're going to get a loop swoop or just a dead 50 run. There's only two scenarios that can happen. When the 10 SMA right here in the blue loops, that means the price action breaks. It breaks structure from the prior consolidation of the dailies, goes under this support, under, gets devilishly close to the 50 loop. This is a loop right here. Okay, it goes down and loops back up. When that loop happens, it comes into lower high territory or equal high double top territory right here, back to resistance. So what you want to look for, and the only other scenario is to wash it. So it breaks under, and that requires news and catalyst. So if we don't get the loop and swoop to the downside, that's option one. We're going to get something that breaks through the 10 SMA right here and just dives into the gap, bounces at the gap, and then continues down. Those are the only two scenarios you're going to see. Scenario A is the one we want in the yellow here. Okay, we want a loop under the 10. We need this to break through that 10 SMA a little bit, start holding near it, loop back up, create the lower high process from this high, continuing down. This is going to be that short entry coming. Okay, and as far as day trades go, that short under the golden pocket, lower under 558.63 will net you a push to 556.19, filling up this fib on the data. Okay, so we got a lot of big zones there that I hope we come back down, maybe test this range right here on the loop, right? We could go down that far, 554, 553 before it loops and swoops, and that's the scenario I'll be playing. Okay, so that's the macro version and prediction. Let's get into some day trades on the QQQ that we had made, but we only trade the NQ, but off QQQ, of course, because it's the best way to do it. So let's look at this guy right here. There's only two scalps, and we made two really big trades, or three really big trades, I guess. The last one was a little smaller on the pressure move, but let's get into it. So we had a pop to short narrative here on the Qs. I wanted to get up to some zones that we had marked off in the 10 SMA before we went short. So I stayed out of the short in the morning. I did not get the short because we did not get a 10 SMA daily. We didn't come back up to prior highs. We didn't get a +2 extension VWAP. We just missed a bunch of really good resistance points. And I was being a little picky, and I waited, and I wanted my confirmation to short, and I didn't get it, which is fine. And then it pushes down to the 50. Well, here comes trade number one. So the 50 SMA daily on the QQQ, of course, red dash line we just talked about. So the price action came back down into that, and I scooped the first tag right here, and there's like 38 points. So beautiful long, $2,400 across all the accounts right there for the first tag of the 50. Price action comes down from the pop to short call, boom, hits, boom, right to VWAP. And we also called that secondary boop, and moving in. Now, that one was a pretty big developmental, because we could have came up to a lot of different zones up here to find resistance points, moving averages, but we weren't quite ready yet. We had a whole bunch of downside because of that SPY algo. And that's going to drag the markets off the nasty consolidation we have. If we look at both charts here, side by side, we had some pretty ugly consolidation morning. And that's exactly what we told all of our members here prior. We're going to get a really choppy day at the morning start. And for our day, when I say day, we only trade for the first hour or 2 hours. I'm not talking about the entirety of the entire day where nothing's going to happen ever. It's our trade day, right? So they know that. But when we come into this trade day, we only trade about 10 where the best volatility is, all the way to 11 sometimes if there's a trade. Well, we got this trade set up right here that finally broke back down under yesterday's close, pre-market open, half candle retrace, all of our resistance points in this ugly consolidation where Qs front ran this whole scenario. It just gave us this beautiful trade setup where SPY just didn't want to do anything. And that's fine. That's divergence. We didn't have a lot of convergence here. One of the biggest takeaways on how we called this short, I'll give you right here, is the oscillation indicators coming into the pre. So I told my crew right here, and I was like, guys, we are dropped into the bottom. Gotta draw our equal line here. So we're trying to we use the halfway points, right? 50 part of a candle, 50 way of a high-low doji, 50, it's always half, 50%. You hear me talk about the zero line, which is half, 50 of the RSI, which 70s high, 30s low, 50 in between. I look for the 50% ranges, okay? So when this came in, make sure my fat head's not in the way. There we go. For the oscillations here, when we came into that ending pre-market right here, I was like, yeah, we're pretty short buys here. We might get a pop to short. Why? Well, look at the oscillation indicators. Came down to the RSI. Boom. We're down underneath the 50 now. We're in the bottom of the channel, which means downtrend, higher potential. Same with the MACD. Cross to the bottom side. Womp, womp, down. Right? We're in the bottom channel, which means big continuation. Look at the SPY. I called the SPY short right here. We missed it by 2 seconds. I said, time to enter in short. I went to go swat my chart on NinjaTrader to take a big short on ES. And right as I went to click ask, right there is what happened to short the ask. So we were ready for the big short here. Look at ES and look at SPY. Same thing, right? Comes into that late pre-market, breaks down into the bottom channel of oscillation, close to the end of pre-market, right here, consolidates, lower highs, lower lows. You can see the sequence, fresh low, high pop to short, stays under all moving averages, 200 peach, 666 light purple, 100 green. Nothing could get over that to do the breakout because we were looking short. Now, we had the oscillation all telling us to the bottom side, and we had targets to come all the way down to at least the 10 SMA, and then we find some tried and true algos, right? So let's talk about my last couple anchor trades here. QQQ. This is where I made my other moolah here for the anchor test and long. So this is, again, the developmental short off that 50 SMA. We took 2 different longs here, and the bigger one was back to the top-down anchor. And we use anchor VWAPs at high-low opens. So the market opened, creates the high. We tag an anchor VWAP, which is just a regular study here on TradingView. The anchor sets here and then starts to calculate. The price action has ran away from this, right? And my short target, 473.75, which is one of the algos that I have on my system saying Qs, has a really big over under, a very strong support resistance right here. So as the price action popped to short, came in, hit that level, I'm like, we're at the 50 SMA daily on QQQ. You might as well take a long scalp. What's my target? Well, since the anchor is here and the price action runs away, we wait for a viable support, and we had this amazing algo level, 50 SMA daily, and a couple of little small supports. So we're going to attempt a scalp back up because this breakdown requires a bounce to keep going because nothing goes in a straight line in the stock market. So as we come into right here, 473.75 and supports, this was my target, right? And then I took another short for trade number 3, and that was it. And the next short is developed off an anchor as well because high-low, like we just said on anchors, gets created. So this is my low a day. And this is my high day for the opening range trade, right? So once I seen this come up to the first anchor tag, I said, well, I'm going to flop short. There's no problem. Bam, I'm going to short this, no problem. So I hopped in short, made another like 800 to 1500 on both accounts on the follower mode with Replicanto, and then on the big account, also took a little love to the downside. I did not expect the full-on wash that we had got until we found the algo on SPY later on, which helped us with the targetable low offense, because now SPY shouldn't go any lower than it is now into tomorrow dump. Hopefully with all the data, we get like a pop to short that we can come back down to our final target where those algos were, and then of course what we talked about. So this anchor bottom up provided me with a short into this anchor. So I shorted the first tag. Be very specific when I say that. First tag. If the price action were to push into this twice, it would not be as strong as a resistance. The first tag matters extremely, extremely abundantful. Lots. Matters a lot. So when the short came in, shorted this right here. Good to go, perfect. Broke the anchor, it just had a wicked run, and that's what brought us into the final SPY target that we had put out for the algo system, putting us down near 557, 80s, and 90s. Now, again, we just filled my last bit of the algos, as you see there. This was the last target. Those are my 5-minute gaps. pre-market from prior days. You see the MACD starting to swap back around. This is what I was talking about on X. So when the MAC decides to start swapping back around, take it back long. Let's look for a long target and prediction. And I got anchors obviously chasing back up. I like this lower high in the green. Kind of already hit that one. So remember what we were talking about on the first tag. So let's try another lower high, which is going to be this guy. We're probably pushing into that pretty close. So again, here's the structure, down, down, down. Find support on both my algos. So this general area of support is to be made and consolidated. We have the MACD working with us in a bullish manner. So we should come back up long here, right, to this anchor VWAP, and that will be a little bit of a resistance zone, and it'll slowly break back up and should come about. What do you do if you missed this trade, you didn't catch the bottom, and you don't have the algo system that shows you exactly where to bottom here at 557, which we had, again, just talked about a little bit? Well, the anchors will help you out, right? So if we put this lower high into a breakpoint, and we need to make a chase point anchor, which means a low a day needs to be on again, right? And lower high. So now we have two anchors of interest. Now, we're not silly enough to short absolute lows of day, right? So we know this large range down has a much higher probable chance now because we're on like our third, fourth anchor attempts to the upside here. They become weaker farther into the day. But this last little anchor here that we're coming up, we're going to hit this. Now, this has an opportunity to kind of blow out of that anchor, come back down and test the anchor, which is going to be this one that we're talking about on the top for support. And if we don't, this anchor is going to be the one you long on the bottom, because now we have a low a day anchor. So when this thing runs away, goes for the rest of the afternoon, goes crazy, when it comes back down and finally hits this guy, that's your long. That's your scalp. So you wait for this little anchor that could truck it along. Price action does this. That's your trade. So we use those anchors. So be nice and patient. So that's it for me, guys. Hope you found a little bit of value here today. Sorry, I'm a little slower today. We're low energy, a lot of pain today from the stupid cancer treatments, but we're making her. It's all right. If you found any value in this, you want to trade with Apex or Top Step, we got codes in the description. You want to trade live with us at Boiler Room Trading and join me and a bunch of other live members in Discord as we narrate this stuff live every single day. These crazy markets, call out those trades and talk a whole bunch in Discord. And most importantly, explain what we're doing here, right? We explain our trades as we come into the Discord. We need everybody to have a great understanding of what's going on. So we go through, there's some memeing, sure, there's some fun, but we produce a ton of content. This is while we're doing it live. This is not just text-based. I'm talking, Connor's talking, we're posting pictures all at the same time. We give you P&L updates, entries and exits of how we're structuring the trade. And of course, answer as many questions as I possibly could. We post the P&Ls, the entries and exits, so you can see exactly why we took a trade, because we're a teaching service here. We're not an alert service. So you're looking for an alert service and you think paying somebody a couple bucks a month, like $100 a month or $80 a month or a couple $100, he's supposed to make me rich because I pay him $2 a month or $2 a day. Come on, man. You already lost at that mindset. If you want to come in, actually learn trading, actually learn the setups, not rely on some random call out, shout out that you don't know if it's going to be correct or not. Because in my opinion, if there was a alert service that worked 100% of the time, I think it would blow up like wildfire in social media, because I'd probably be in that chat too going, hey man, give me all the calls that are 100% accuracy. That just doesn't exist. Come in, learn how to trade properly, learn how to manage those emotions, and trade with the big group of community that is here to actually learn how to trade. We teach how to fish. We don't do handouts. I do a lot of little trade calls. I do some bigger swing picks once in a while. There are calls, but this is not an alert service by any means. I will actually teach you how to do this live and make this money that we make every day. You can come into these Discords. You can see all the member P&Ls that they post. They're an amazing group and community. So if that sounds fun to you, we'll see you in chat. Come on, stop in. If not, we'll see you on the next video.